to cover, as far as I'm concerned. He has the tradition of what I call the Nigerian tradition, a soul tradition. In his blood, as his Igbo culture comes through, not only through his art, but through his life as a whole. I hope you will have the chance of, when he's talking about his life, through the film that we did also in conjunction of the book. What I would say, there will be a question and answer to Bola, and he will answer on his own questions. But he lives art. Through that, he also in school, giants train him, but he's trained by his life. He's trained by Lagos. Lagos is his love affair, as far as I'm concerned. He says, whenever you are in Lagos, there's no other place in the world like Lagos. Lagos will capture you. Lagos will beat you. Lagos is the most beautiful, ugly, and the worst of the worst. But Lagos will never let you go. And his art comes through the spirit of Lagos also. I'm going to pass tonight to Bola, who is a friend, a dear friend to Alma's Art Foundation, who is going to be asking the right questions to, hopefully, to Gerald. And you will have also a chance to ask questions if you have any questions. Welcome.
Thank you very much. And I think we also have to thank Farah and the Alma's Art Foundation for bringing Gerald Chukwuma to our shores here in the UK, but not just to bring him here, but also for this book, Together, and also for the film. And if you have a chance, I do implore you to watch the film. It is very, very sensitively made, but it is a real eye-opener. And the book is an extension of the film. And it's my honor to speak to you, Gerald. And to afterwards, I'll ask a few questions, but we'll then open it to the floor. So many of you, I'm sure, have questions that you would like to pose to Gerald. But permit me to be a bit nosy, first of all, and delve a bit deeper into the artist that is Gerald Chukwuma. I mean, Gerald, your life reads like a work of fiction, really, in a sense, because you have surpassed the odds. That despite the old cliche of, oh, my parents didn't want me to get into the arts, didn't want me to get into music, or didn't want me to get into that realm, that sector, you did. And not only did you challenge what your parents wanted you to do, you also persevered against all obstacles, even hawking when you were in your first year of university, just so that you could pursue your art. So can you explain to us what art means to you and why you felt that this is something that was like an inner drive that you had to pursue?
Thank you very much, and thank you everyone. So, I don't like to be in front of the camera. I prefer in front of the canvas because that's my safe place. But someday we'll have to come out and see how we feel. Thank you, Bola. I've asked you to be lenient to me. Thank you, Alma's Art Foundation. This is a dream come true, fantastic dream come true. But let me go straight to that question. I didn't know art was a profession. Art for me became where to hide in and bring out my nature, my natural self. That means that when I had gone through everything a young Nigerian boy will go through in the day, I used to come back home to hide in art, where I could express myself. So art was for me a dreamland come true. And so what I dreamt of to become, when I got back home, I went into art to become it. And so to many people it was not real, but it was real to me. And so while I didn't know that there was going to be a course or an educational journey into art. I knew that there was something that could talk to my soul, that could make me glad, that could make me escape all the things I thought were not right. And in there, everything was beautiful. And so I escaped into art as a young boy. And I think that's where the thing started to pull me into it.
And let me explain for those of you that maybe haven't had the chance to watch the film or see the book or even to go to Gerald's current exhibition, which coincidentally, as God works, is on at the moment at Kirsten's studio. And Kirsten, I don't want to massacre your surname, so please, you have the joy of describing.
It's homeostasis at Christian Gerald Gallery, and it's a fantastic show.
At London Bridge.
Yeah, at London Bridge, yes, at London Bridge. And she's been very instrumental to this. She actually started my journey into London and all over the world. And I call her an angel, and I'm happy she's here today. But
before we even get to the scene, let me give a little taster, because as you'll see if you log on to the film on YouTube, it is a real tale of perseverance, and your love affair started at a very young age. So when you talk about having that inner passion, that desire to have art, this was as a young boy of even just 7,
yeah.
And you talk about how you were beaten for drawing on the walls, and that despite these kind of beatings, despite being told off by your parents, when you then went to secondary school and primary school, even though you weren't taught art, you used to get comics. And you were inspired initially by the comics, and then as a young man, can you also talk about how even hawking goods to sell, you were inspired by what you saw on the streets? Please describe that first.
Hawking, it's selling on the streets, and let me say here that my parents didn't mean to send me on a terrible place. It's a way we live. You grow, you have to help to train the rest. And you start at an early age to do this. So they were actually training us. So did you understand what it meant to? So when I went out hawking, 2 things happened to me. I found out that on my way to hawk, I saw things I couldn't have seen in the school or at home, especially the road, people who call the roadside artists, who made stamps, signposts, printers. And so it gave me the opportunity to do what I could not do at home. Because at home, if I was going to start painting or drawing, it would always come, why are you wasting your time? Why can't you go do this? Or going out to hawk was escape also for me. So when I went out, I became so good at hawking because I had to finish everything quickly and go straight to these guys who made this art and help them. And so when I come home, my parents would say, oh my goodness, this guy is so good. They didn't understand what was motivating it, that I had to move quickly, sell out this thing, grab my money, put it in the pocket, then go there and spend the better part of the day. And that was where it started. I would help them, and of course, when you want to help them, they're happy. You're not taking money. You're not asking for anything. But I didn't mind. I was just joyful. I wondered how somebody could carve something, and when you put it on you stamped it, the negative will happen. It was magical. And I was very young, but it opened my eyes to what art could become, especially the process. And so I came there and I made a white piece of paper. And 3 days, my hawking, 3 days, 1 week, it became something so beautiful, colorful. And so for me, it was just life coming to life. And so that entered my spirit, and all through my life, even if sometimes I was pushed out of it, I still returned back to it.
And when you talk about being pushed out of it, when you went to secondary school in Port Harcourt, I understand, Federal Government College, Port Harcourt, I understand, which is in the south of Nigeria, as we describe it, that you didn't have any art teachers, and yet you still pursued art, and then you went to, was it a technical college to learn business admin? Yeah. But yet that burning desire to be an artist was still there. Describe for us how that must be, because I'm sure all of us at some stage have faced some challenge where people are telling you can't, but you still say, well, I have to, despite the odds. Can you tell us about that battle?
Sometimes when things begin to happen to us, we don't know the reason. At that point, it was spiritual, but I didn't know it was spiritual. I thought it was normal. Something was definitely pulling me to art. And so everything that happened in the secondary school, which is Federal Government College Port Harcourt, I didn't do art at all. But you see, I would always go to the art. There was no art teacher, there was an art lab, and I would just stand there and just look at the chalk pastel. It was so fascinating to see. I didn't know why, but I would stay there for hours. So it was more spiritual. I didn't understand it, but I knew that I had to go there every day. And so when I came out, of course, I didn't study art at all in secondary school. I went to the university, I had to go to a technical college to read. I mean, it had to be natural. I was a hawker, and so I had to become a businessman. It had to be so natural. And my parents and everyone thought, look, he can do it. He used to sell out his goods in seconds. And I mean, they didn't understand there was something else motivating. So I went in there, but 2 years into that, I knew I was lost. Because every day when I got to school, I found a guy who made greeting cards. These greeting cards. This what card? What's it called here? Greeting cards. For Christmas, for New Year, for cards, welcome, birthdays. So I found out I found the guy, and every day I went to his place and I sat there and I watched him every day. I mean, I wasn't hungry when I was watching this guy. I didn't feel anything but to stay there. So I started seeing colors in that guy. And after 2 years, I told myself, you know what? I think it's okay. You have to take this decision. And so you shouldn't do this if with your parents. I decided to take a decision, take a good laws into my hands and say, you know what, I'm going to go with art. And so, but you see, you had to take the basic exams. I took the basic exams. I did all the exams that you needed, and I went to University of Nigeria and Nsukka. And for many years, people didn't know where I had gone to. People thought I had disappeared. My parents also wondered, but there were no telephones, the cell phones there was in Nigeria at that time. So you could only use the landlines, and you have to wait to call. And so it was even difficult to trace where I was.
So they thought you were doing one thing, but you were doing...
Yeah, that's why I said, please don't try this. It's very dangerous to do that. But you see, when your spirit calls you, sometimes you can't do anything about it. It drives you, and that's what happened to me. From Africa, you learn to respect your parents. And so it was a bit over the board, but sincerely, I couldn't sleep some nights. I couldn't just do anything. I was good at the course I was reading. I was one of the best students in that course, but I didn't find joy. I was so sad. Every time I did my work quickly, my teachers, my lecturers say, fantastic. And yet, I knew something was wrong. I didn't know what it was. But I had grown up a bit. I said, look, I have to go do this art. And that's how I proposed so.
And you say it like that. This is a man who graduated then from Nsukka University with the first class, top of his class, no less. And I mean, that's an amazing feat for somebody who didn't even know what was driving you, who had to surpass all those challenges that your parents had. I believe even one of your lecturers at one stage said to you, are you sure you want to do this? And you said that it was in a class of 50, only how many of you
Just 4
are now pursuing art as a career? I mean, that in itself says a lot about the environment in which you worked and in which you studied. Can you describe that for everybody, for the audience? Just how that's been to happen against the odds.
The first thing, unfortunately, is that in the school, in the university, you are handed over a curriculum that was handed over by someone who handed over to someone and handed over to someone. And so oftentimes, you don't learn reality when you're in the university. And that's the root shock that we all find ourselves in. And so, even when I had graduated, and I loved to do this art, the lecturer who taught me asked me a question. He said, are you sure you don't want to come to school to teach? Because like she said, I'm in the first class, and it was easy for me to get into the fields lecture and become a lecturer, which is a beautiful thing on its own. But you see, I wanted to express myself first. I wanted to speak to the world from my soul, my spirit, before I started to do it with my body. Now, Lecturing is beautiful, but you see, it needs more of your body. But see, my spirit and my soul wanted to speak first. And then when I get into the lecture, and I told them once when they called me, I said, if I was going to lecture, I was going to lecture for free. I didn't want my motivation for lecturing to become what I was paid for, because what happened is I would take that curriculum and say, hand it over, and they come out just like I came out, and we all get confused. And so it wasn't simple to pass through that system. It wasn't really my lecturer. My mother asked me once, young man, do you think this art can feed you? And I don't blame her, because she's a single parent. She meant really good for this, her son she loved so much. And she was asking a sincere question. And she was ready to help if I wasn't going to do art. If we can get a nice big farm and farm it all through, I'll be with you. And I think that's the love of the mother. But it was deeper than that. It was much more than, but she was imagining, after 5 years, 6 years with all the strike, if you school in Nigeria, you understand what I mean. Are you sure you're going to come out and use it? Are you sure you are not wasting your 5 years? And so it's not an environment. In my class, there were 50 great women and men, great ones, the very best I had seen, even until date. And there are only 4 of us practicing art as studio artists, 4. What happened? The environment stole it from them. It's a rip of reality. And if we talk about how some of us pass through it, sometimes we question ourselves. I question myself. I say, are you sure? Yeah. And so I think that system has to change a bit. And that's why I'm very glad with what the vision of Alma's Art Foundation, because you see, when the younger people begin to see things like this, they'll get inspired and they will know the truth. It's a document that somebody who is 5 years will read.
And I think it is well worth saying that Gerald inspires people not just by his art, which I'll describe in a second, or you can describe it, but also by what you also now do, because Gerald is now giving back to the community by actually setting up a prize for people in Nsukka. If you've studied art, he, from his own pocket, now is promoting the next generation, aren't you? By rewarding the best student with a bursary?
Yeah, I thought it was important. A little bursary and an exhibition in Lagos for about a week. And why did I start it? Because I didn't have that opportunity. And it took just one opportunity like that for many of the great artists in quote to come to limelight. Some of them not even in quote again as good as the next, but it takes an opportunity. The book, the documentary, it's a big opportunity, and so I thought we should, continue to do that.
And talking about continuation, Sinclair, I wonder if it's possible for you to have the film without the volume running in the background, just so that people who haven't seen Gerald's artwork can actually see it. Is that possible at all?
Put it later, just for the film, like we are filming that and it's not.
Okay. The reason I was saying that is just for those of you who haven't actually seen Gerald's work, it's truly beautiful, and I wonder how you can describe it for people, because
also can see it up in the hallway.
Yeah, there's
they can in the hallway it is, and also obviously in Christine's gallery. But I was just for the benefit of people who can't see it or haven't seen it. A lot of your work, the medium that you're known for mostly is wood, and you burn the wood. The colours are so vibrant, they're so beautiful. And it's interesting, if you can describe for us why you use wood, but why you describe it as almost like a love affair with wood. And you say the wood speaks to you.
Yeah.
How is that?
I read painting, and so I did canvas all my life as a student, and I came out as I did canvas. But at the point I knew that it was the canvas, I wanted more than canvas. And I started looking for a medium, of course, and the wood spoke to me naturally, because it has to be like you for you to agree. The wood, for me, wood is like a love affair, and because the wood reacts and behaves like wood. The wood can take in and the wood can give, and the wood will not complain. The wood will accept any material and even make another material feel and look better. The wood will take out some of itself if you carve it out, and it will be better than what is carved with. And it can also give to another material and feel comfortable there. And that's why I'm very joyful with the title Together, because that's really my philosophy. I love Bob Marley's song People's Paradise. We are the ones that make the paradise that we're going to see. If we want paradise, we make it. It's about human beings. And so the wood has that character that I have, and it was so natural for me to just move into it. And from time we began to understand each other. And even at this point, it's the wood that tells me what to do. It's not the other way around.
How so?
Well, because when I started, I used to sketch and try to find what to do, get an idea, and try to translate it. But now this is what happens. I line up the wood on the wall empty like that, on the wall of the studio, all empty. And I come in the morning and I sit down like this and I'm just chilling and enjoy the flat roof. And suddenly something will come and I just run in, drag them down, quickly. It's almost like romance, Even my wife can excuse her.
Gerald's wife is sitting here.
And so, but that's what she's used to it too. We've been doing for years. And so I take it down and I start dealing with it and it's dealing with me. And at the point we begin to align. And this is something that intrigues me and will continue to intrigue me. I never know the outcome of it. Never. I have never known the outcome. And that's a trick the wood plays on me that I enjoy. That's why every time it's new to me. No matter how I plan, it never comes out that way. And so the wood is actually working on me now. And I started working on the wood. And I think that's how it happens. That's how this intercourse happens.
You call it intercourse?
Yeah, something.
With the wood. Sorry, Miss.
No, but wait. Intercourse, you can check the dictionary meaning.
Interaction,
thank you.
But it's not just wood that you interact with, because I found it fascinating how you use, and maybe I can actually just please give it back. Maybe if you can pass it through and just flick through some of the pages, and you can see some of the carvings, some of the wood carvings, but also intricately how you weave aluminium, metal into these sculptures. And that in itself was something that spoke to you. Can you tell us about that? Because it's when you first visited Bar Beach in Lagos, and you saw all the cans. Can you describe that? Because there's also an environmental love affair.
Yeah, good. You see, when you school in the east of Nigeria, and you always hear about Lagos, it's fascinating. It's like going to California. And so when I started to think about Lagos, it's the capital of art in Nigeria, really, if you ask me. And I really wanted to go to Lagos. And if you go to Lagos, just like in the Bahamas, you think about the beach. So where we come from, the only thing you can talk, if you're in Lagos, if you didn't visit the beach, you didn't go to Lagos. Bar Beach. I won't remember it's Bar Beach. So when I left Nsukka to go to Lagos for the first time, I mean, it was a direct straight line from the car park to Bar Beach. That was the first thing I did. And I went straight to the beach. I mean, I could tell my people at home that, look, I arrived in Lagos. But when I got to the Bar Beach, I got a shocker. I thought I was going to see Bahamas, clean sand and all that. But shockingly, I met a lot of cans everywhere, littered. Maybe again the day I went, I came on a Sunday morning, and on Saturday usually had a lot of parties. And so I saw cans, these empty drink cans everywhere. And so I was excited, but I was also a bit, laid back. Wait, what happened? Why is it so littered? But it's an artist, and with the mind of an artist, I saw colors instead of cans. That's what happened. I saw colors. But of course, I didn't know I was going to say, but I saw colors. After 2 years or so, I visited the beach. I started picking them and collecting them a bit here and there. After 2 years, I visited that beach. something just struck me. I said, look, wait, you're looking for colors to paint when all these cards have all the colors. So that's a living palette. So I tried it, and I was careful a bit. But today, which also has happened like the wood. It started. If I finish the work, oftentimes you can't even tell that there's a difference. You won't know if there's any aluminum on it or not. And I think that's the painter in me also, because I think in colors, I speak in colors, and so it was easy for me to just fuse these colors. In fact, the tougher thing was even the technicalities, not the infusion. Yeah.
And those technicalities, and I'll stop after I'll ask 2 more questions and then open it to other people. The technicalities shouldn't be underestimated because it's a real labor of love, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
But not just by you now have a team who work with you to work on the wood and work on the aluminium. And you and your wife described it as a family. Can you describe your family, your artistic family?
Exactly, that's what it is really, artistic family. Over the years, I've worked with people, and then when you work with people, suddenly you get a team that aligns with your mindset, aligns with your spirit realm, aligns with your soul and what you're doing. And I've found some of them, but today we have a set of 6 people who I've worked with for at least 10 years, about 10 years, yes. And we have become a family. And why do I say so? In my studio, we eat the same food, and it's cooked from my house. So if you eat from where I come from, if you eat from the same bowl with the same person, that's your brother or your sister. And that's what it has become. And so they understand how I want that wood to look. Especially even the starters, the ones who cut the wood and kind of plane them to become straight, they even know the exact different wood panels I want placed against each other. I think that there's power in that agreement, because if 2 agree as touching anything, everything becomes possible. And again, you won't even know that these people are all artists in their own way until they begin to work with you. Because I found all of them, if you know Lagos, you know there's something called touts in Lagos. All my area boys, all of them, all the people that work with me, they used to be area boys, all of them. And so you also see the artistic transformation, because art has worked on their souls. They came very rough and rugged, ready to even fight at the drop of a hat. But you see, art has molded these people. I just watch them and I laugh. They are quiet in their own way, yet still very strong. But so at the drop of a hat, they will smile instead of fight. It's amazing how that you didn't even know they were transforming until you look back and say, my goodness, this guy suddenly has 2 children. And when every one of them came, none had a child. They were just, so apart from the fact that they work with me, art has done a lot to them. It has increased the joy in their soul and the way they view the world and the way they view life. So they're more effective even in their own homes. I think that's what I just started to realize suddenly. So it's a family, and I'm glad with the family.
And if I can bring it back to your family, your dear lovely wife Dorothy, who's sitting here. And interestingly, if you look at some of the masterpieces which are on the show at Christine's gallery, you'll actually see that the signature is GDY.
Yeah, it's right in front of you.
And if you can tell us what GDY stands for.
Okay, when I started out as a painter, I used to sign Gerald. If you see any of my paintings, you see Gerald. But I met my wife, an amazing lady, in first year, Dorothy, and the first day I met her, I knew exactly that she was part of my future. And we're all little people, but we knew, this spirit is amazing. And when I started, we started to date. That was when I moved into making panels, wooden and panels. So I signed GDY because G starts Gerald and D ends Gerald. D starts Dorothy and Y ends Dorothy, and that's why I signed GDY. So she's part of the work, and I wonder what I've done without her.
And on that note, I I think it brings us to the fact that we're now here, 2023. You have a book, you have a film, you have an exhibition detailing your work. I just wonder, I'm now going to open it up to people, but before I do, had you ever imagined when you were a young boy drawing on your parents' walls and getting a spanking for it, did you ever think that this is where you'd be and that this is what you'd be doing international exhibitions, having books and films about your life?
I never thought about that. I mean, I never imagined that. And I didn't imagine that at that time. Even 10 years ago, I don't think I imagined that. Just 10 years ago. I keep saying that the book and the film by Alma's Foundation is something that that has come to tell a strong story to some people that are not even born. If I saw something like this as a first year student, and guess what? I saw a clip. What inspired me as an artist was just a newspaper cutout on the wall. Imagine if I had seen a book like this. Imagine if I had watched a documentary on Netflix before I even got to the university and I had art burning in me, I would be flying away. A clip, a newspaper clip, just on the wall. I got into Nsukka, saw a small clip on the wall. It was a newspaper clip, and that clip said, I didn't know the person. It says a certain lecturer in the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, Uli and Nsibidi, Osaka Biennale, artwork. And I, of course, I just entered the school that day with my bag on my hair, haggard and everything in the night. And I saw that clip. I went straight to the art department because I didn't know anywhere in Nsukka. I came straight from my village. So I walked in there with my bag, everything. And in the night, and I went straight to the art department. And I started seeing sculptures and paintings, and I went to the notice board and I saw this clipping. That alone. I said, wait, is it possible? Are you sure somebody can do this as an artist? I said, that's it. I have come to the right place. That stayed at the back of my mind. And I continued doing what I was doing. So imagine if a young Gerald, 15 years, walks into a library and picks up Together. And then as it turns, there's a documentary. All possibility will break loose. And I think that this is really fantastic. I must thank you so much. It's amazing. This is a truly
Now, if I can open it up to the floor, who has a question, please? And I think Sinclair has a microphone for Chike, I think.
Remember to be merciful to Gerald.
Gerald, nice to hear this story from you. But by the way, my name is Chike Azonye. I work here as events manager, but I'm also an artist. There is a connection between me and Gerald because your story reminds me of me walking into University of Nigeria, Nsukka, to become an artist. And I remember the same scenario that you saw that made you, when you saw Uli and Nsibidi's poster. The one that actually touched me was Professor Chukwuma's always going abroad to have exhibitions and also traveling all over Nigeria to have things, so that it kind of inspires you and just keep wondering why that there's a lot of scope in art. It's not just what people talk about it, that it actually can become a profession. And that actually inspired me as well as it did with you. Even though I work here, but I'm also a practicing artist. Last year, both of us had an exhibition at SOAS, yeah. And the good thing about it is that even lecturers do lecture. It's a work, but they also exhibit. Yeah, so people can now hybrid and do things. The question I'm asking is that who would you say was your the person that kind of inspired you from our department, because we have very, very interesting lecturers. Ella Nasi was our lecturer, as you know. And he lectured you?
No.
Okay, he was my lecturer, my direct lecturer, and Professor Gerald Chukwuma. But who would you say from Nsukka that really, really inspired you? Because I want to know. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Like I said, I read painting. So I graduated as a painter. There were two lecturers who changed my life completely. There's Professor Nsukka, who I think is the most intelligent man living on earth today. Yes. Sorry, that's but I think so. I really do think so. And there's Professor Chris Ikwemesi. These two people changed my life as an artist, because I lived with Chris Ikwemesi, Professor Chris now, for about 2 months. And every day I sat behind him watching paint. He has this fiery orange color that he uses. Well, that jumped into my work quickly when I started going to do my assignments in school. Then I remember Professor Nsukka. That man is an oracle, sincerely. It's not a human being, I don't think so. Because if you call him by 2 a.m., he will come. If you came to his house and knock, excuse me, sir, I don't understand this color. He will dress up and follow you fast. He told me one thing. He said, see, Gerald, listen, there's no agreement. Any color can mix any color. At that time, as a student, they used to tell us you have to match green, and you know that, like, he walked in and said, listen, you can mix any 2 colors and they're okay. He believed in every possibility. He was so intelligent. He knew about architecture. He knows about art. He understands religion. He understands everything.
African art?
African art. He was a champ. He knew that guy, I wish they could just document his life completely. He's an oracle. That's the best one. So these two lecturers, and they are both painting lecturers, they really inspired me. Really inspired me. Made me understand that I can do this. And then Professor Chris Ikwemesi sent me on really great errands. In fact, my first exhibition in Lagos, he sent me with books and to come and deliver. And of course, that was good for me. I ran into the exhibition for free, and I watched the exhibition of another Nsukka artist, Uche Duchi, Soul Staring, and I was inspired. So these two, every other lecturer, I used to get into Chijo Gonora's place, saw his drawings, he was a champion draftsman. But these two lecturers were close to me because they taught me painting, and I saw their works, and they encouraged us. Yeah.
And the article that you speak of, Professor Ikwemesi, didn't he write the foreword?
Yes, but he did.
Alma's art
He did.
book, so you can actually read.
He's the person who should know a lot about me. He saw me there. He saw me being a raw, he told me to do lines, and I was wondering, why is he telling me to do lines? I came to do art. For 1 week, he telling me draw lines on the paper. I said, but this is not art. Of course, I didn't understand, but I'm glad I drew those lines.
Next question, please. This lady, I think. 6.
Hello, Gerald, how are you?
All right.
We haven't met formally before. My name is Johnson. Kristen, hi. My younger brother tells me you're best friend with him. His name is Emeka Victor. I'm sure you know.
Oh, okay.
All right, but it was totally coincidental. Kristen introduced me to your works, and I've had a few collections of your work. I see your works in most places I go to. Kempinski Hotel in Ghana, a few other places I see your work displayed. Now, your works are visually arresting, very, very beautiful, and it speaks to the soul and to the mind. But how do you see, as a collector, from my own standpoint, apart from basically enjoying the art, where do you see your work in the next 5 years in terms of having more acceptability in terms of global audience?
That's a really tough question. I think you should be asking Chris in that case. But yesterday I was with Bola and I told her something I'm going to tell everyone. I don't know the future, but I know it's progressive. Nothing can change that. The panel works will go on a sabbatical maybe for a long time.
Not before.
Not before. No, we have a solo in Palm Beach, and that will still hold because the works are ready. But I think that's what's about to happen. And so to answer that question, I am not sure if when I started out I was making it, to be collected. I enjoyed making art, but there's a process. I believe that with things like the show in Palm Beach, there's a nice book now which is going to introduce me to the world, and a documentary that will probably get to the moon. I'm sure the collector will be a happy person in 5 years. If that's the question you ask me, Yeah.
Thank you. Hi. For those who don't know me, my name is Peace. I think we've all heard a lot about moments and people that inspired you where you thought that, this is evidence that art is my passion. This is what I want to pursue. And it's really inspiring and just to hear about. I want to understand, are there any moments where you felt uninspired or lost, where pieces you've been working on or a collection you're trying to put together isn't happening the way you imagined it, the way you wanted it, or there's just blankness and you weren't sure where to go from there, and how you overcame that?
In 2020, I'm spiritual, so I pray. So I went to my God and I said, God, if you tell me right now that this art is not for me, I will leave it. And so do I feel like that? Yeah. It is not about what I'm producing really or the art I'm making. It's just that in your spirit, you're sure that something is not right. That's what I think, that's what it's like life. That thing we call the success, everybody's got to, so you have that feeling that, you may not know what it is. But do I feel like that? Yes. It's not mental block. I don't think that's what it is. I think it's too spiritual to be mental, but mental block is a momentary thing. Yes, sometimes you ask yourself, and I ask myself, 2020, I remember spending time alone and saying, are you sure? Now, was I succeed as an artist? Yes. At that 2020, we did really good. But that wasn't the thing. How do I come out of it? The first thing is that I always say there are two kinds of artists. There's a good artist and there's a true artist. A true artist cannot stop doing art, even if it's not happy. And so when I don't feel comfortable that, am I supposed to continue? I knew that I wanted to continue, but I didn't really know what to do. But I can't do anything else. This is how I live. This is how I think. This is how I breathe. This is everything I do. And so if I take it away, I take away life. And so I may not know the next turn, but I'm sure where the destination is going. So so for a good artist, maybe that question may be tough to answer. But for a true artist, you're going nowhere. The boats were born the day you were born. So yeah, do I have those issues? Yes, I have it. As early as 2020, just a few years ago. And I really would have, tried that, maybe tried cooking. I like cooking. But you would have seen the food and you'd be sure that an artist made that food. You would have been sure. You would have been really sure. My baby would be colors. You would have been sure. So that's how I feel about it. It won't stop, but it may not go in the direction everybody wants it to go to. Yeah, that's why the panels are going on the sabbatical.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Paul. I'm one of the trustees at Almas. So pleased to meet you. You spoke very passionately about your mentors. You spoke very passionately and with quite a lot of emotion about 15-year-old Gerald and also your extended family. Now, through the power of social media, we're hoping that this short clip will go around and will be reaching the bedrooms and the living rooms and the streets of young people who will hear this. What would you say to them if they were considering or just thinking about a career in art, how would you inspire them? What message would you give to them? Because we're about how do we inspire, how do we guide the next generation?
I haven't really thought about it exactly, but of course I do a few things like to encourage them with the prize. I have a program, a summer program, every summer where I try to, inspire younger people, younger people, secondary school down. But what would I tell someone who was going to pursue this thing?
They're not sure yet.
Not sure. I would tell the person what I'll tell myself. You cannot be limited. It's impossible for anything or anyone to limit you. If you can't find the right place, create the right place in your head. If you can't find the right medium, try the bar beach, I'm sure you see something. If you can't find the right audience, thank God for social media today. So I don't think, that's what I'll tell the person, nobody can stop you. If you can find your bliss, you will have bliss. I think that's what happened to me too. When I found art, everything aligned. It's an alignment really. And so if the person can find it, I'm sure the universe will align you. That's very simple. Yeah. So I tell a few of them like that too. And but the economic situation sometimes not allow you to think. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. I just wanted to say a huge congratulations on your success and on the book and on the film. It's truly incredible. We were just looking through the book. I also want to say a very public thank you to you. Last year you donated a magical and very large piece to our charity, and it was the highest selling piece, and you raised a lot of money for our foundation. And I just want to say thank you so much for your generosity. And in that what's your foundation, if you don't mind me asking? It's called the Art of Healing. So it's affiliated with hospital rooms. We paint psychiatric rooms. Anyway, that's what we're talking about. But I just want to say thank you so much again. And we had the privilege of installing one of your pieces, and I saw at the back each of the panels was numbered, so as sort of like a way to show us how to hang it. But I've heard from a curator that sometimes you make a piece, and then you make other pieces as well, and then you rearrange things. And there's a point in which the making becomes less about the image making in one panel, and it becomes some sort of abstraction. And I wanted to ask which you lean more towards, whether it's the representation or abstraction, which is your comfort zone in terms of the panels?
Thank you, Nengi. Do you want the truth or do you want? You know why I asked you about this? I had a fantastic one at that. And so that's why I asked that question. But which one do I enjoy the most? The abstraction. I love not knowing the outcome. It's the speed that I have. That's the opium. Once I don't know the outcome, I keep going. And so when I make that piece, I love to be with this piece alone. Sometimes I don't want them sold. When I make it and I line it up and I come out in the morning, 6 a.m., that's my time with these guys. And I look at them, suddenly, I will pick one from here and go to this side. And then I take one from here and I go to this side. And that's why I keep saying, I don't know if they are prophets or so, because together is really what it is. Because I just move one piece to another. And, I found out that they begin to align. Let me tell you one story about wrinkles, Christine, so you know. When I was making the work for wrinkles, they came in one piece, the face, the wrinkles, and all that. And then, usually I like to rearrange the place a bit and infuse some words. And so I told my people that were working, I said, let's rearrange it a bit, let's move these faces to this side, and then we can arrange another work. And in the course of moving this face, they can't move it together, I come up and they move four, then they were moving the second, fourth one, and the guy made a mistake. The other guy moved the other four and joined it to the other face. And then they said, it was a mistake, and I said, stop. Thank you very much. good night. That's how that work took another angle. And so that movement is not just it's the work, it's the wood calling for attention and saying, this is what I want you to do. I want it this way. I want it now. It took me time to understand what the wood was saying. When I understood it, it was seamless. Once I finished arranging it in a rearranged way, how is it? Then I feel peace in my heart. Once I feel peace, I know maybe we have done something. Most importantly, the wood is happy as I'm happy. So yeah, I love that abstraction so much. It's a place I really want to go to. It's the deep part. Yeah.
And just also though, something that you would also see in the book is that in Nsibidi, if you can tell people about, there's a particular Igbo, can I call it a script?
Yeah, well.
Almost like a script, an ancient script. It's almost like hieroglyphics. I'd never heard about it. Can you briefly, before we go to the next question, just tell, because that also is infused from Uli. Can you describe that for us?
I met it in Nsukka. It's the Uli, which is a motif that is more decorative than it is spiritual. But it intrigued me because it was a language that was used that had disappeared. And it was a language, visual language more than a written one. And I told myself when I learned about it that, look, this thing can't just disappear. What do I do? So I made up my mind that I was going to pick up this Uli, which is a certain motif way of communicating with each other in the eastern region of Nigeria. And so I was going to put it in every of my work to keep that culture. One thing is, if you're able to take away the language of a people, you will take away their life. Their culture disappears. And so I told myself, well, we don't know the meaning of all these Uli symbols, we don't know all of them, we're still guessing. But if I can take it and keep doing it, it will become pidgin English, so pidgin Uli. And I think that everybody in Nigeria understands pidgin English, wherever you come from. And that's an adaptation from the English, which is supposed to be a lingua franca. So that's what I tried to do with the Uli and the Nsibidi. So I picked them up and I continue to put them until it becomes something that all of us will be comfortable with. When I first met it, it looked a bit scary. What's this scarification? What's all this? I studied a bit about it, I found out what it was. But now, not only do they appear as a document in my work, they also have become beautified. And so everyone, whether you understand it or not, can enjoy it. And so that's what I try to do.
This will be the last question. Gerald will be around, so you can talk to him personally. And anyone who will take the last question.
Gerald, I've not met you properly yet, but I know you one of the pieces that is in my parents' place. My question is that you mentioned that you never know where your art ends up at. So, how do you start the process? What inspires you to take a certain direction on your projects?
The beginning of the inspiration is never where it ends. That's what my work happens. But something surely triggers me. And when I saw the cans in Babbage, I didn't do that work until after 2 years. But that thing has come to stay. But when I start to do the work, at a point, the work takes over. That's really what happens. Do I start at a point? Yeah. But do I finish at that point? Probably not. The general idea will be the same. I've worked on migration for a while before I started to shift a bit. The final thing also I had to talk about migration, the effects, and all, the forced migration and all that. But the theme may not be the final thing. I start at the point, but I never finish at that point. But do I start at the point? Yeah. I always have something in mind I was coming to do, and I was glad to start it, and it takes on a life of its own. And really, really, for me, that's what the art is all about. Freedom. It becomes free. And I've enjoyed being free. Yeah. I have no sketchbooks.
Thank you.